Happy Mapping Monday.
When I have a worry-filled mind, I like to wander outside. No telling what we might find. Birds calling, worms crawling, leaves falling down from above. Oh, I plant my feet on the ground. I keep my head in the clouds. I let my feelings out loud. I hear joy calling, fear crawling, tears falling down out of love.
Welcome, friends. I'm so glad you're here. For those of you that don't already know, my name is Mrs. A, and each time we gather together, I like to check in on our feelings. Sometimes I'll ask you about what color zone you're in, and other times I'll ask you to identify a feeling or emotion from this poster here, or another one that you may be experiencing. Today, I'd like to remind you of the zones of regulation, these colors behind me, and then I'm going to ask you to listen to your body and figure out what zone you're in right now. So, the blue zone means that you are feeling a little slow moving today. Maybe you are feeling sad or lonely. Maybe you're feeling a little sick or tired. Maybe you're just feeling a little foggy. The green zone means that you are feeling comfortable or settled in your body. You're able to accomplish the things that you set out to accomplish. You're feeling at peace. The yellow zone means that you're feeling a little distracted. Maybe you're worried, or maybe your brain is starting to feel a bit overwhelmed. Maybe there are lots of thoughts rolling around in your mind and you're feeling a little anxious. The red zone means that you have lost control. You're not really able to make sense of your thoughts. Everything is really overwhelming, very stressful. Maybe you are feeling angry or frustrated. Maybe you are making big body movements or speaking loudly. You don't fully feel in control. And so now that you have had a moment to think about each of the different zones or understand better what they represent, I'd like you to take a minute and just listen to your body. Our body sends us lots of messages throughout the day. And sometimes if we are in the yellow zone, we might be shaking our legs or picking our fingers or looking around. And we might not even realize we're in the yellow zone if we don't notice or pay attention to those messages and cues. So I'd like you to take just a moment, listen for those messages, and then grab an object that matches your color zone. I'll do the same. So you can keep looking for that object. And while you do, I'll share what zone I'm in. I'm in the green zone right now, and I know that because my body feels comfortable and still. I don't feel tense. My hands are relaxed. My heart rate is not too fast or too slow, and I feel like I can think pretty clearly. Of course, I still make mistakes or stumble on my words, no matter what zone I'm in. That happens because I'm a human, and humans make mistakes every once in a while. But I'm feeling in the green zone right now, mistakes included. What about you? Oh, thank you so much for sharing and for grabbing that object. If you like to keep that object with you, feel free, or put it back where you found it, whatever's best for you. I appreciate you checking in with your feelings and identifying your zone of regulation with me today. The next thing I'd like us to do is to take a peek at the date. Now, the date may be different for you when you're watching this, and that's okay. We like to look at the date to help us know how many exercises to do and to help us keep track of time. So, the 2 represents the month that it currently is. Do you know what the 2 represents or what month it is? February, yes. The 7 tells us how many days in February so far. We are in the 7th day, or maybe the 8th, 9th, 10th, or so on. And the 22 tells us the year. The year is 2022. And as I said, I like us to check the date so we have a sense of time and are able to keep track of things. But it also tells us how many exercises to do. And Fig also gives us some clues about a move as well. So if you take a peek at Fig, what do you notice about them? Yeah, they have their left knee up and their left arm out. Do you have any guesses of what exercise or move they're showing us? I think some of you may know. We've done these before. If you're not sure, that's okay. You can keep thinking on it, and we'll start off with a different exercise, but soon Fig will help us by telling us what move they're showing. For now, we're going to start with 2 twists, and we are going to count by 2s because 2 is an even number. And you may remember we've been practicing counting by 2s anytime our date has an even number. Now, if you're not sure what an even number is, that's okay. Let me remind you. An even number is something that can be shared equally. So if I had 2 cookies and I gave you 1, I could keep 1. That means we have the equal or same amount. So let's look at this number, 3. Do you think that's an even number? No, it could not be shared equally. If I had 3 cookies, I could give you 1 and I'd keep 2. We would not have the same amount. But what about 4? Yes, 4 is an even number. And so anytime we see an even number, we'll count by 2s. And to start us off, we will do 2 twists, counting by 2s. Feel free to sit or stand for these exercises. Ready? 2. Nice work. Now we need 7 moves, and this is where Fig is going to help us. Fig, what are you showing us today? Do you know? Knee ups, yes. Again, these can be done sitting or standing, whatever is best for you. Thanks, Fig. When we do these 7 knee ups, we are going to count by 1s because 7 is an odd number. That means I cannot share it equally. So let's get in position and do our 7 knee ups. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thanks, Fig. And thank you, friends. Last but not least, we have 22 things to do. And again, 22 ends in a 2, and so it is even or odd. Even. So we're going to count by 2s. For our 22 moves, we will do some shoulder stretching over our head. Remember, counting by 2s. Let's practice. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. Hope your shoulders feel nice and stretched like mine do. Now, when we finish an exercise, I always like to take 3 cool down breaths. That helps us settle back into our space. It helps us lower our heart rate. It also can help us move toward the green zone, feeling a little more comfortable or at peace. So listen for a bell, and as you hear it, breathe in big, and then slowly let your breath out. Wonderful. Friends, thank you for moving your body with me, and thanks for cooling down with those big breaths. Now, you friends may remember that February is Black History Month, And we talked a little bit earlier in the month about what we would be studying and what that might mean for us, whether or not we are Black ourselves. And today is Mapping Monday, and I wanted to talk a little bit about something that you may or may not be familiar with. Now, we've talked about the continent of Africa and how there are many countries that make up the continent of Africa. But something that we haven't talked about together is that a few hundred years ago, people from Africa, specifically some of the countries in the western part of Africa, were kidnapped and taken from their homes, taken from their neighborhoods, some taken from their families, some taken with their families. And they were put on boats, and they were transported across the Atlantic Ocean, some to North America or Turtle Island, some to South America, and some to Europe. There were also some people taken to other countries as well. Now you can see on this map here that it almost makes a triangle. And as the ships were sailing with people they kidnapped and captured from Africa, they would be taken across the ocean. And the route that they took from some of the countries in Western Africa to North America and South America was called the Middle Passage. And the reason I wanted to share this with you is because today we're going to learn a little bit more about what this experience may have been like, or what this may have felt like or sounded like. And the reason we're going to do that is because it's a really important part of the world's history and of our history. And so I want to share a bit more with you in a message, and then I have a book as well. Now you may remember in my journal, I have messages for us each time we're together. And in each message, there are alliterations or words that start with the same letters or sounds. And these are helpful, especially if you are practicing learning your letters or practicing learning to read or identify new words, so you can be listening for them as you hear my words. It says, "Dear compassionate and kind kids, today we're going to talk about some sad and heavy topics, but so very important to be aware of so we can learn from them. While we're celebrating and learning about Black history, it's also important to take time to talk about the impact that people have had and continue to have on our Black brothers and sisters. There are people in the past and present who do unfair and unsafe things to people who don't look or sound like them. For example, there are books being banned because people don't agree that everyone should be their true selves. And there are others being banned because some folks are uncomfortable talking about history, especially when it's sad or heavy. But I know that we are brave, intelligent, and compassionate. So let's take time to learn more about some of these hard truths. Love, Mrs. A." Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I talk about sad or heavy things, I start to feel a little uncomfortable in my body. My body is sending me messages, just like your body is sending you messages. And if so, at any time these conversations make you feel a little sad or angry, that's okay, because all of our feelings are okay. But you may want to sit with that and think about why it's making you feel sad or angry, or why it's making you feel any other feeling you're feeling. Remember, our feelings are all okay. They're all valid. We all experience lots of them throughout the day or throughout the month. And when we sit with them and identify them and understand them, we can start to feel more comfortable with them. So friends, let's look at this book that's going to tell us a bit more. This book, The 1619 Project, called Born on the Water by Nicole Hannah-Jones and Renee Watson, with illustrations by Nicholas Smith, is a really, really important book. And like I said, some parts of it may feel sad or heavy, and some parts of it may feel hopeful and helpful. And so I want you to be looking and listening for each of those different experiences. Now, we'll only hear a few pages today, but I highly encourage you to get this book for your family from the library or a bookstore. You can even share it with friends or classmates who may or may not know about our history and these important events that occurred. So, Born on the Water by by Nicole Hannah Jones and Renee Watson. Again, with illustrations by Nicholas Smith. I want to tell you that this book starts with a young girl curious about her history and her ancestors, all the people that have come before her. And so she's talking to her grandmother to start. And this first part is all about what Grandma tells me or her. They say our people were born on the water, but our people had a home, a place, a land before they were sold. 400 years ago, in 1619, our ancestors were taken and brought here on a ship called the White Lion, a whole year before the Mayflower arrived. But before that dreadful voyage, there was a time when they did not pray for freedom. There was a time when they did not sing about overcoming. Their story does not begin with whips and chains. They had a home, a place, a land, a beginning. Their story is our story. Before they were enslaved, they were free. I love these pictures I see here of so many smiling faces and so many beautiful outfits that remind me of the book that we looked at recently about some African traditions. I'm seeing some similarities and some differences too. And so this next part takes us a little bit past that journey across the ocean, and actually is when they arrive in North America. But I wanted to let you know that the pages in between, although we won't be reading them together, are really important to read. And so when you grab your own copy of this book and you get to those pages, you may notice they're a little bit scary or uncomfortable or dark or sad. And that's because the voyage in the White Lion was really scary and uncomfortable and sad. People were captured and taken against their will and stuffed into ships that sailed across an ocean. They were stuck in those ships with no way to get out, with people they didn't know, going to a place they have never been and didn't want to go to. And so this page is a bit more about what happened after they arrived in North America. Point Comfort. Finally, the ship stopped moving, and the people were dragged to the deck. They closed their eyes against the light of a sun they had not seen since Mother Africa's coast. They closed their eyes against the sight of a land that was not theirs. They cried a silent cry as white men spoke strange words, talking about their bodies, and with a handshake traded another's child, another's mama and daddy, 20 to 30 beloved human beings in all for just a few pounds of food and drink. 400 years ago, in the year 1619, the white people called this land Virginia, a sweet-sounding word for a place of such pain, a sweet-sounding word for the place where American slavery began. Friends, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling really sad and angry as I hear these words. I'm feeling angry that someone would trade human beings for food and drink. Someone would take people from their homes, put them in boats, travel across an ocean just to enslave other humans. I'm feeling angry and sad that I see people in chains, surrounded by people they don't know, speaking languages they've never heard. I imagine that must have been really scary, really difficult. So I'm going to sit with those feelings for a minute. Maybe you're experiencing some of the same feelings or emotions. Maybe you'd like to sit with them for a second too. Now, this next part is a bit about what people did as they were enslaved. And a lot of the time, people who were captured or taken from Africa and enslaved and brought to North America. A lot of the time they were made to farm and plant food or crops and harvest them, but they weren't able to eat them. And a lot of the time they were treated really poorly, beaten or harmed, maybe even separated from their family. But this page talks about how they made a home, even through all those traumatic experiences, after being captured from their homes, after traveling across an ocean, and after being enslaved in a new land, they were able to make a home. Let's listen. How to make a home. After a long day's work planting tobacco in the fields, after brutal treatment, after nothing to show for their hard work, sadness would come, a longing for Ndongo, for the mamas, for the daddies, for the friends they could no longer hug and talk with under the warm sun. We are in a strange land, they said, but we are here, and we will make this home. We have our songs, our recipes, our know-how. We have our joy. We will love, laugh, sing, and hug our children as tight as you can hold a child. We will survive because we have each other. Wow. Even after all of those difficult experiences and through each difficult day, people were able to survive because of love and joy and laughter and each other. Friends, I think that is so powerful. And this whole book is really powerful and really important for us to all read and experience. So please grab your own copy and take time to read each page and sit with all the different feelings that you may feel. Sometimes feeling uncomfortable is actually what helps us grow. For example, if you've ever tried a new physical activity or sport, your body may start to be physically uncomfortable and building muscles and learning those new things. And our brains are really similar. When we are uncomfortable or challenged by a problem or a thought, it usually helps our brains grow and learn something new. And so I hope that even if you felt sad or uncomfortable today, that your brain grew and you learned something new or thought something new. I know I did. Before we go our separate ways, I'd like us to take a mindful moment together, one that will hopefully help our bodies rest and feel more peaceful. It's a stretch called Child's Pose. And I wanted to try this stretch because we haven't tried it yet, and it uses our whole body. So if you're able, go ahead and find a flat space, maybe on the floor, maybe by a carpet or a rug. And what you're going to do is sit on your knees. And when you feel comfortable in that position, you can start to fold over, and your belly will lay on top of the tops of your legs. Now, if you have space, you can reach your arms out forward in front of you and rest your head, or you can cross your arms and rest your head on them. Child's Pose is a great way to engage our whole body, but also feel like we're resting. So go ahead and get into the Child's Pose that feels best for you. And we're going to take 5 big breaths while we're stretching. Let's do it. Slowly come on up from your Child's Pose, and you can get back into whatever position is most comfortable for you. But I'd like you to just sit for a minute and notice how your body feels, or how your brain feels after stretching in that way. Did anyone feel challenged, like they were engaging or working muscles they haven't done before? Maybe you felt really comfortable and relaxed that you could have fallen asleep. Maybe it was new, or maybe it was familiar. No matter how you felt, thanks for trying it and taking a moment to be mindful. Being mindful is when we really just focus on the thing that is happening right in front of us or within us. When we are mindful and we clear our head of other distractions or thoughts, we can almost recenter or refocus our brain and body. And oftentimes, at least for me, when I practice mindfulness, I find myself moving toward the green zone, feeling more settled and more peaceful and comfortable. I hope you feel that way too. Friends, I just wanted to thank you so much for being here with me, and I wanted to send you off with some love if you'd like it, and a hug if you want it. And I can't wait to see you next time.